computer.
Right.
Okay, so sorry, Denise, I was a little sidetracked. Can you repeat what you just said? I stopped paying attention after you said you are originally from LA, but you live somewhere else now.
Right. I live in Morro Bay along the Central Coast, not too far from LA. And I am interested in landscape photography, nature photography, abstractions, and infrared black and white photography as well.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I've done that too for a while. It's very cool.
Oh, yeah, I like it.
Okay, and then I see a user, it just says iPhone. I don't know who that is.
I think it's me, Uda. It's Robin.
Robin, you are a purple R for me, but you might go ahead, please. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name's Robin. I'm a fine art photographer, but most recently going back to something that I've loved, which is dance photography. So thanks for having me in the group.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you in the group. All right, who goes next? Let me see, I have a little hard time with my screen here right now. So Jen.
Hi, I'm Jan. Sorry, I've got a little bit of a cold going on, but I'm just north of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm landscape photography macro. I like to do a lot of night photography and some abstract.
Nice, very nice. Lisa.
Lisa from Chandler, Arizona, and kind of dabble in a bunch of stuff, but gravitate mostly towards nature.
Yeah, I love your work. Megan.
Hi, I'm Megan. I live in Verona, Wisconsin. And I dabble in all kinds of different photography, but my kids have been a lot, but I'm excited about this group because I kind of feel like I've lost myself in motherhood. So I'm looking to get a bit creative again. So thank you.
I hear you. I've been there. My kids are grown up by now, but I do remember how stressful it was and how difficult it is to make time for yourself. But it is so important at the same time.
Yes, I've been there as well. And it's easy to get lost in that.
Oh, yeah,
Megan.
it really is. Okay, so we have one last user. That's the person who appears on my screen as iPhone. Your microphone is turned off. I'm not sure if you want to talk now.
Oh,
time.
So it's Mary.
Oh, Mary, it's you.
I don't know why it would just say iPhone. That's so weird. But anyway, Mary Craig. I live in Wilmington, North Carolina. I've lived a few places, Maryland, North Massachusetts, Rhode Island type of thing. And I don't know if I specialize in anything, but I like to experiment constantly.
That's great. I think you're at the right spot. Good. I think it's a good time for me to start share my screen with you guys and hop into the presentation that I have prepared for you. There will be time after the presentation to ask questions, but you might also because we are just a small group. So if you have anything that you don't understand or you're like irritated, what is she talking about? Just ask your questions, don't be shy. All right. I think the more questions we have, the more fun this will be. Okay, so I will start my screen now. And I need to find the right one, of course. That's always a little tricky. It's not what I'm looking for. Nope. Give me 1 second here. And that's that one. All right, that should now show. Whiteboard? No. Where did it go? Oh, this should be this one. Okay, do you see the develop with slideshow? Yes, perfect. All right, then let's turn that into a slideshow and let's get started. So my plan for this group, after gathering all of you last year, and it was kind of a slow start, so I thought about how to make this group for you beneficial, make it worth my time, and give it a little more structure. So my idea is to present a topic every month. It will always be a creative exercise, and I will present one technique per month. And the technique that I have chosen, let me see if I can change the view here for me, that I have chosen for this month is not the perfect setting, slow shutter and ICM. How many of you are familiar with slow shutter photography or ICM, which stands for intentional camera movement? Anyone tried this technique so far, or is it new for you guys?
Oh, hey, it's Mary. I dabble in it, but I can never remember how to do it every time I do it.
Oh, that's a very good point.
I kind of like
That's a
fiddle.
good point.
I fiddle about with the settings, and I'm like, okay, go.
Yeah, it's actually how I got started and how I learned about this technique. So initially, it oftentimes was an accident that I forgot to use my right settings, and I go home and it's like, whoa, what is this? But oftentimes those accidents were intriguing, and I was like, man, this is cool. And then I kept forgetting about it again, and then eventually, you know, how you keep doing things. I realized I had a collection of images that were lucky accidents, and then I started structuring this for myself, and I found out oftentimes it's not the right setting, you know, that I forgot to adjust the shutter speed, and that created those blurry images. All right, let's go to the next one. Wait, how do I switch that here? Not here, obviously. Right there. No, sorry, oh, yeah, it switched. Okay, all right. Okay, it's working now. Okay, so with that, I welcome all of you. We did that already, and I'm super happy that you joined me, and I hope that we will create a lot of great work together. I'm thinking about two things to make this, to make us accountable. So one idea that I have, and you need to let me know if you're interested in doing that. I was thinking maybe we should have a designated hashtag for the month. Is that something that anyone here is interested in? Are you using Instagram?
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, because my idea behind this is if we just take the pictures, eventually you will lose momentum. I saw that in the group. There's some momentum in the beginning of the month and people are excited and then they keep forgetting about it. And I'm really trying to make this a more active thing for us. Another idea that I had to keep us accountable is anyone interested in starting an Instagram loop, like a weekly thing maybe, or bi-weekly, whatever you feel like you could handle?
Yeah, I've been interested in, I've seen other people use loops and I've wondered how they get started, but yeah, I'd be interested.
Okay.
I would as well. Yeah.
Lisa,
Same.
too.
Yep, me too.
And Megan?
I'm sorry, did you say,
Yep.
did you say a loop?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes, did you say a loop? Like,
Yes, yes,
oh,
I'm thinking about a loop, like a weekly or bi-weekly thing. I think weekly would even be better because it would give you a goal to produce something, also a place where you can later on show your work. I would organize the loop, but I was just interested for now if you guys would be willing to do that.
okay. Yeah, I would be interested in that. Is
Okay.
a loop, is that an Instagram term? I'm just not familiar with it.
Yes, it's an Instagram term, and the idea behind it is that we are basically a group. I would organize that. The way you access the group is via a private chat on Instagram. I would send you an invitation, and then there is a script that you use for your post. It's a script that someone writes. It comes with the corresponding hashtag. And the reason we have this loop is to make sure people engage. It might motivate you. You will see what other people in the group are producing. It could be really inspiring. So if you're interested, I will set that up. I will write a post after this meeting in the group to remember you guys about it. And then please do me a favor. If you want to participate, just leave a quick comment.
Okay.
All right. And don't worry about it. If you're not familiar about it, all you need at this time is an Instagram account, because this is where we are going to host it, and your pictures. So there should be no pressure. It should just be a nice place for you to show your work if you want to.
Okay, good. I think it might be the motivation that I would need to keep
Okay,
going.
perfect. All right, I love that, Barbara. Okay, so intentional camera movement and slow shutter photography have very similar fields, a very similar look, but are two different techniques. The images, the basic thing you need to know to be able to work with these techniques is how to set your shutter stop, how to set your shutter speed, how to set your f-stop, and how to work your ISO. You should be familiar with the exposure triangle. Is everyone here in the group familiar with the exposure triangle?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yep.
Perfect. That's great. Okay. If not, if you need a little refresher, maybe I could post a very helpful link in the group where someone wrote a very short but precise article. Yeah, it might be interesting. I can do that if you guys want to read about it. So the things that you will have to manipulate if you work with slow shutter or with intentional camera movement is mainly your shutter speed, of course. And to be able to do that, you need to raise your f-stop and you need to lower your ISO. Those are the basic rules. So the idea is you want to go for a shutter speed slower than 1/60. That's, I would say, the fastest you can get away with. Typically, that means an ISO of 100 and a very small but high number f-stops. So something like f16, f22, especially if you work during the day. If you look at these 4 sample images on the slideshow, there's one common thing that is pretty obvious. All those pictures were taken at golden hour.
Oh, Uda, I can't see the slideshow.
Yeah, I'm
Oh.
not seeing it either.
What do you see at this stage?
Just
said-
click to exit full screen.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
oh man.
Uta, you would love it. I did ICM with
There
45
it is.
millimeter the Soul, and so it's a fix 3.5. That was fun.
Nice. I wonder why it's not sharing. It shows it on mine, but
There it is. There it is. I see it.
okay. This is so
Oh
weird.
no, it says build beautiful slides. That's probably not what you're wanting to show.
No, exactly. But on my screen, it shows that I'm showing the slideshow.
I think it's a zoom setting. Oh, that maybe. Nope, nope. It's another.
No, it's also not it, but it just shows me somewhere. We must find it here. So how about this one? Does it work?
Nope,
No.
that's your how to build slides one. I think it's a Zoom thing. So go back to Zoom.
Well, no,
and
that's saying the January topic.
Yeah, that's nice, but this is not what we need. We
Oh,
need a slideshow. So let me shut that down.
oh, okay.
And then maybe that helps.
Wipe on my nose.
We can quit. So now you see.
Do you
my
have to click
desktop.
slideshow in the upper right?
No, it's not where I see it.
Are you in Zoom or are you on this
So
tab?
I am in Zoom. I will stop sharing and then start sharing again. Maybe that helps.
Yeah, I wonder if you,
Okay, let's see. Okay, what do you see now?
The
Can you-
slideshow
You
thing.
see it?
your, looks like your web browser with the multiple tabs open.
Hmm.
And it
Oh,
says
wow.
DWL January, not the perfect setting.
That's
One of the tabs.
Now it says it's loading, but then when you bring it up, it looks like it should be the presentation and it says, what does it say? Click to exit full screen. So I wonder, do you have 2 screens up or just a single?
let me go here while we talk and escape the slideshow one more time. And then just let me shut down anything else but this. I mean, this should make it really easy for this system. If it still doesn't work, I'm really puzzled. Okay, so share. How's this?
Good.
Can you
That's
see it
good.
now?
Well, it still looks like a slideshow thing.
Yes, that's what I want you to see. So how does it look?
Oh. Well, now we can't see it, but
Now it
we
says it's
could a
loading.
minute ago.
Loading.
Oh, so I think what it is, I cannot show it as an active slideshow. So this is where it seems to stop. But if I show you this, you can see it, right?
No, I don't see
No, we're
anything.
seeing you.
No. No, we just see you.
Goodness. I mean, it's good that you see me. I love that. But it should be so hard. Okay, this is a little frustrating. Sorry, guys. Let me one more time. So what do you see now, please?
It looks like
what
the what is it, the slide sharing app with the slides are on the left side?
Yes. Okay, let's keep it there. So you don't have to worry about this because those are all, see, do you see my cursor now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so what happens if well, anyway, let's keep it there because you see it and that's most important to me. Okay, so let me pick up my train of thought. I was talking about the images and that there is one common thing, and that is important when you do slow shutter photography or intentional camera movement. You need to have a slow shutter speed, ideally 1/60 or slower. That means like 1/30, 1/15. Those can be incredibly long exposure times. But the more light you have outside, let's say you go out around lunchtime on a sunny day, it is impossible to do this kind of technique without a filter. I'm a lazy photographer. I do not really like to attach filters to my camera. So I found a way around of doing that. And the way I do it is I typically go out at golden hour where there is less light, and then you can easier get to slower shutter speeds. In increasing your aperture to, let's say, f16, f22, set your ISO as low as it is possible. On some cameras, you can go as low as 50. Mine allows me to go all the way down to 100, and that works for me. So those are some basic ideas, concepts that you need to consider when you want to try these techniques. Do you have any questions? All right, okay. Good. So there is a difference between these two techniques. They can easily be confused. I think the main difference is both of these techniques require a slow shutter speed, but when you work with slow shutter photography, photographers oftentimes work with a tripod, so you keep your camera stable and have a moving subject. That can be light trails. Let's say you photograph traffic at night. That can be the ocean with this steady landscape behind it. That can be a bird in flight. That can be people. So the idea is you keep your camera stable, a part of your image in focus, while most of the image, or let's say the moving part of the image, starts to look blurry. On the other hand, intentional camera movement, you also work with the slow shutter speed, but you keep moving your camera. So you don't have to worry about finding a stable surface. Again, I am a lazy photographer. I don't like to carry around tripods. So for me, I either try to handhold my camera and keep it steady, which is relatively easily to do with these modern cameras because you have the stabilizers in camera and you also have the stabilizer in the lens. So it's relatively easy to get a sharp image at a shutter speed of 1/30, 1/15. If you go slower than that, it gets tricky. But it is possible. So depending on what kind of photographer you are, you need to remember if you want to do slow shutter photography, and you're not a stable person, you should bring your tripod, or at least make sure you can find a surface like sidewalk, put your camera on a sidewalk, on a wall, or stuff like that. I mean, there's always a way around to make it happen. What is also important for this kind of technique is that you think about the colors in your image. Typically, it's helpful to have bold colors and to, like in this picture, there's like a lot of blues and reds and oranges and yellows. So the colors, even the colors in the background, seem to mimic the colors of my daughter in the foreground. And that is typically something that is very pleasing to the eye. What I love about this technique is it is very difficult to control. The outcome is often a surprise. And what it does for me and why I love it so much is it allows me to focus on emotions and on what's going on instead of worrying too much about the perfect setting, worrying too much about the perfect composition. And for the first years in my own journey as a photographer, I was so concerned about composition and settings, and it didn't allow me to feel free in my photography. I was actually bored with my own work. It's all so clean and yeah, the right word is boring. It was all predictable. There was no emotions in my pictures, and I really craved that, and it was so hard for me to find it. And like I said, eventually I was like, man, all these pictures that are not right, those are the pictures that I really like. What did I do here? And I started figuring it out. It was fun. So I found out there are a few subjects that I really love for this kind of technique. My daughter, as you just saw her on this little merry-go-round, is a very open and free-spirited person, and I love to capture her personality with that kind of technique. And I feel that other images where I work with fast shutter speed and I freeze the action are not really doing any, not really showing her personality. But that is only one thing that I love in my own photography. I'm also very much interested in finding, let's say, peace and using photography as therapy. So I spend a lot of time at the ocean. I am not a bird photographer, but I do love to picture seagulls in my work, because I think that it is so beautiful to have them with this when they look so painterly, and to capture their movement, and they're always around me. Another subject that I really like is the ocean. And what I wanted to get across today is I wanted to ask you, as an exercise, to go through your own work and think about commonalities, subjects that you tend to photograph more often. I think that is important to understand as a photographer where you have your heart and where your passion is to become really good at something. So if you're at a stage in your journey where you cannot really find these things, don't worry about it, it will come. But if you have a big collection and you've never done that exercise, I'd like to invite you to go over your last year's images and set up a separate collection and really think about your favorite images and what is it that make these images so special to you. Is it a certain technique that you have used? Is it a certain location that you keep going back to? Is it a certain subject? Is it a certain time of day? All this really will help you to figure out what it is that makes you special as a photographer. And
Oot,
yes,
I'm sorry to interrupt. I was wondering, and let me know if this is not the time to ask the question. You had showed the image of your daughter on the merry-go-round. And
yes,
so was that was handheld? Right?
yes, yes. This was handheld.
Did you just focus on her and not move the camera and just since the merry-go-round was spinning, is that how you got the result?
So first of all, I was sitting with her in the merry-go-round, and so I was stable and the camera was stable, but the things in the background, so we are actually moving in this merry-go-round. It's not really a merry-go-round. I don't know the real name for this thing. It's like this thing where you turn around yourself,
Okay.
So she had turned this thing, so we were turning really fast. I felt like I had to throw up for like an hour after this image, but it was worth it. So I was sitting there, and the what is it called, the thingy that keeps us here on Earth. Anyway, I cannot come up. G power, whatever it is, was really was high. So I was trying to stabilize myself and the camera, and then I just set the focus on her. And had it wide open, so it could only capture her. And then the background went by so quickly, and this is why it blurred.
Okay, but thank you. It's so crystal clear.
Yeah, it's the settings. So in this case, I used a surprisingly high ISO. It is ISO 640. So when I used the slower ISO, the picture was too dark or too blurry. So I compensated here the other way around. So it was a little surprise. And that's what I meant when I said you really are not in control. You need to play with this. There is no real good recipe. The slower your subject moves, the easier it gets. Faster moving subjects, you always have to adjust your shutter speed, your ISO. So the way I do it is I go out and I'm like, okay, today I want to do slow shutter. I want to play. And then I find something that I like, and then I just play with it. And I look at the pictures. I'm like, okay, I want to go this way, or this is something I like. Oh man, this is way too bright. But I will go over these special things in a little while.
Thank you
All
for
right.
that.
Yes, you're welcome. This is another technique, or it's the same technique. I have moved my camera, and you might wonder again, why is the background blurry, but the people are sharp? So what I did here is I used a flash to illuminate the faces, and with that I had a very fast shutter speed here, so it was easy to keep these people in focus. But the flash only reached the faces, it didn't reach the background. So here the movement that I did with the camera shows. So it was basically freezing the action. Another thing you can do with slow shutter photography, it's something that I came across, I think, last year, and it's a lot of fun, is light painting. So these images have an exposure time of 1.5 minutes. And here I use the tripod, so I would not get the sharpness on the bridge or on that person without being on a tripod. So that's what I said. When you work with a shutter speed, let's say up to 1/15, maybe even 1/8, something like that, you can handhold it with a modern camera. But if you go slower than that, you definitely want to bring the tripod. And again, a very, very small f-stop, as you can see, because the lamps on the bridge look like stars. So it must have been f16, I guess, maybe even f22. And this is another example for you. I was thinking, what are ideal subjects? And I think your imagination is your limit. I mean, you can use it anywhere. I was driving in the car with my husband and I was bored. I'm like, oh man, when will this drive end? It was beautiful, but it took us hours. We were driving from San Francisco all the way to LA along the coast, which is scenic, but at times it gets boring because we spent like 8 hours in the car. And then I started playing, taking pictures, and then there's so much you can do. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, what if I would slow my shutter, and then keep it really stable, but we have the motion here, and that is a lot of fun. Okay, this is another example. It's something that I wanted also to mention. There is a fine line for slow shutter photography of being interesting or looking out of focus. So this image is borderline. You can love it or you can hate it. I personally love it because it was daughter, it's our dog. I was trying to go for something else than just the crystal clear and sharp image. I wanted to go for the atmosphere of that afternoon, for the joy that they have together. They are constantly bouncing around. They are always moving. And I felt like I wanted to show that in the image. I think ideally, I had a different vision for this image. I still love it, but I think it's almost as much as I love it, also an example for a shutter speed that's just not right, because there is not a lot of movement, but it is out of focus, so it's debatable. I'm showing this image to invite you to really be open to play and try these things. You will make mistakes, and a quote that I read last year and that resonated with me is let's make better mistakes next time. And I think these techniques are the perfect invitation to do that. Just be open to play with it, for the surprise. Sometimes it works out. Maybe you might sit like I do and like, is this good or is it not? Well, I still like it.
Hey, Uta, it's
Yes.
Mary.
Hi, Mary.
So in that last photo, how is that different than using, let's say, the Lens Baby soft focus?
This
To
one,
me, it's just,
it's a very
to
good
me,
question.
your photo is just, it looks like a soft focus photo.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And I think it's why I'm so in love with the soft focus, because it is a style that I personally love. And this picture was taken with a Canon 24-70 2.8 L lens. It's not your typical soft focus lens. But
Before
no
you
matter
dropped
what
it?
say that again?
Before you dropped it?
Yeah, and it's repaired. Yes, and it was paid by my insurance.
Oh, good.
Yes, I'm so
Oh,
happy.
yeah, because it was a business trip. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, I was so lucky when I got the reimbursement. Oh, it was such a relief. Yeah, but your question is valid. I could have done it with a different lens. I really like to give myself challenges. As much as I love the soft focus lens, if I spend 3 months with a lens, and that is something that I do, I set myself like little tasks, like, okay, the next week, month, quarter, year, whatever it is, I will only work with this technique. I will only work with this color scheme. I will only work with this lens. But then I'm almost done. You know, it's like, okay, I really explored that, and I need to let it sit in the shelf for a year, sometimes 2, sometimes even longer. But then I love to figure out how to create effects with standard lenses, and this is what I tried here. And this is the same lens. Again, it's a 24-70, 2.8. And I oftentimes use this lens to zoom while I take the picture. So focus sits on the dog. It's not perfectly sharp. Doesn't matter. This picture is about these lines, the colors, the fact that you understand there is a dog. You see there's a person, there's the connection between the two, and then there's the action. And that is what mattered to me on this afternoon. I wanted to show the action, like the excitement on his face, like, where's my balls? Just give it to me. And this technique is the same technique, same lens. That was shortly before I dropped it, Mary. 24-70. I used the flash, as you can see on the light on her face. To freeze the action on her face, but then I zoomed in, and the background, she's standing in front of a church wall, blurred with these beautiful lines. Same technique, same location. That was with pictures that I took during a workshop in Mexico last year, Dia de Muertos, and there were like tons of people. It was great for street photography. Nobody cared. You could do whatever you want. Any questions? No. Okay. Right. Let's move on. Another thing that I do, and that might be too much for today, but it's still part of this little shutter technique. Here, so you see an image that is partially in focus and partially out of focus. And the way I did that, I took this image first. That's just a regular scene of the kids playing at the beach. But since I go to this location every day, it's like my home beach. I was a little bored. I'm like, okay, what else could I do? And I decided to go for a double exposure on that day. And then the second image that I took was a slow shutter exposure. And this is actually the ocean that you see. So I was holding on the second exposure, I was holding my camera down towards the water. And I think I added a foil. I think this is what the color here is about. And I turned my camera with a slower exposure time. I turned it and I got the reflection of the water. And then I blended these two images in camera. And then I had this image. Same technique, same location, same subject. It's the same guy and his kids as before. There's one child missing. I just added a different kind of foil so it looks a little darker. Okay, so how to make simple scenes more interesting. And this is what I often wonder why I do what I do, because in a way, I mean, I love to travel, we all do, but there's only so much money in my budget. And even if I travel a lot, like last year, I'm home more often than I'm traveling. And so I have to deal with what is on hand. And that's a lot of nature, beach, of course, but oftentimes, even though I live at the beach and that is a big blessing, it's the same beach. And after 2 years of going there around the same time of the day, even that can get a little boring. And this is where all my curiosity stems from and where all these explorations come from. So I wanted to give you an example of how slow shutter photography works. And it's easy to present only your best images and everyone is like, wow, that's so cool. But that's not the entire story. And I have mentioned that before. I explore a lot. I try a lot. I would say 95% of my images never leave my hard drive. I sometimes don't even look at them. So to make this presentation, I went through a lot of work. I'm like, oh my goodness, I completely forgot about these images, because I oftentimes know, when I'm at the beach or wherever and I'm just tired and playing around and I'm not feeling it, I know those images are not the ones that I love. And of course, there are other days where I feel inspired and everything works out great. But nevertheless, I make it part of my life, of my daily life. I push myself to go somewhere and use my camera at least once a day, even on the days where I don't feel it. So here, this is my location for the next few images that you will see. And I was looking at this, I'm like, oh, this is beautiful. It's something that is really easy for me. Everything is in focus. I love the layers of this image. We have the intense green, we have the eye-catching flower, we have the yellows, then the tree and the beautiful sky and more flowers, and everything is in focus. That's an easy task for me. And you can pull it up this way so you see the entire image. That's an easy task. It's a good image, but nothing where I'm like, oh, wow, this is so cool. And I love this. Oh, wow, this is so cool effect in my work. This is what I go for. And then I kept playing on the day. I'm like, okay, how about a slow shutter? And guess what? This was overexposed, looks terrible. I'm like, all right, okay, fine. Let's move on, let's try again. And then I tried this, I adjusted my exposure. That's a good image. Let me pull it up this way. It's a good image, but what really bothered me was this white line. And also there's like a lot of green and yellow. And then there's like blue, but not enough. So better, but not there. And then I think this is very slow and this is a little faster. So there is still some movement. As you can see up here, it's not super sharp, but it's not as slow as the other one. And I liked it. But the one that I ended up liking most is this one. There's no distraction here. And I love the abstract feel of this. And I love how the colors go together. And I'm showing these images to you because someone might think, oh man, I love this. And another person might even feel this is great. Or you might like this one better. Or you might feel like, man, this is the image that I like. Why did she choose this one? Well, it's personal preference and it's style and it is your voice. So I'm not saying any of these images is right or wrong or better. I'm just saying I love this one most. That's all. All right, I wanted to show you a few more examples of light painting because, like I said, I learned that last year I had tons of fun with it. And I think it pushed me even harder to play with long exposure. And even though it pushed me, I realized I haven't done enough with it. And this is why I also, I'm looking forward to practicing alongside with you this month and do more of this kind of work. This was an event that was hosted by another photographer, and he took us to all these cool locations around LA that are safe, where he could do his light painting and talk to us about the settings. And I really love what the images that I could take on that night, because it's something that I cannot set up by myself. And this is here is real fire, which is super dangerous in LA, and I would never dare to do that. But since he was in charge, I felt at ease, and I just had a good time. And again, this is probably what I want you to invite to try things and play with it and have fun. Have no expectations. Give yourself room to play with your camera. Yeah, and that's it. All right, this is the end of my presentation. I hope you found it interesting. I'm grateful that you joined. I'm not sure, most of you probably joined this group because you read my self-paced class. If you haven't heard about it, there's a self-paced course that I wrote last year. That might be a very good companion for this year, where I talk about all these techniques in detail, and you can access it from your computer, on your iPad, whatever you want. It's $40. It's up for sale. If you want more information about that, you can let me know. You can also use this link. I'm not sure if it's a link for you, but I can post it in the group if you guys are interested. And with that, I want to stop sharing my screen. And I'm back. And I'm open for your questions. Anyone, any questions? And while you guys might think about your questions, I wanted to welcome our latecomers. Tony is in the room. Hey, Tony, your phone is muted. Your microphone is muted. I'm so happy you're here. I hope you can hear me. And I think Ricky joined later. Megan, hello. Sil also a little later. So welcome, everyone.
And Uda, I had a question on using the flash.
Yes.
It triggered my memory. Was it a technique? Is it rear sync flash or front sync? Where the shutter,
I
the
think
flash goes at the end or the beginning of the.
so I've said that twice. I'm a lazy photographer, also not good with technical terms. So whatever is the generic setting when you use a flash, and I think that was not rear sync, that's the other one. That's the one I used. So it's very simple. I just popped the flash on my camera. Then I exposed for the environment without using the flash. I left my exposure there. And then I turned on the flash to TTL. So whatever the flash, I think it's right. And then that was a little bright. So I had to go down eventually, but you take a test shot and you see whatever works. It's simple. It really is not difficult.
Okay. Yeah, that looks like fun.
Yeah, it is fun. It's a lot of fun. Yes. All right. Any more questions? Let me have a look in the chat. What's going on? Someone, I can't find that. Someone posted a question in the chat. I don't know why I can't see that. Can anyone see the chat? I don't know. Oh, there it is. So I am recording. Yes. You're welcome, Lisa. And no problem, Ricky. I recorded the meeting. I will later share that in the group. So you can go back to that. And if you don't have any more questions, I think we are done for today. I have set these meetings for the first Friday of the month. It will always be at the same time. I'm very sorry for people from areas where it's like really late or really early. That is the day that works for me, but I hope that we can reach many people with these recordings. And most importantly, I hope you feel inspired and you're ready to use a camera. And one thing that I wanted to repeat, make better mistakes next time, and there are no dumb questions. All right.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, Uta,
Thank you.
I have one more question.
Yes, please.
Uta?
Yes. Mary.
So we're going to do these styles of photography for the next month. Do you have any, oh God, what was I going to ask you? So no guidelines, just go out and shoot, and then you're going to let us know where we can post stuff.
Yes, as I mentioned earlier, I will make a little post where we'll leave the hashtag that we will use for these images. Also, I will set up the loop so you guys can participate in the loop. The idea of the loop is whoever participates uses the same script and tags the next photographer. So that way, once a week, we have a group of photographers who all post at the same time, and then you post your own thing, then you go to the tags, you see the next person's image, and then you find the next tag, and it's easy for you to see everyone in our group, what everyone has produced. And yeah, no, I don't have any more tips than these. Have fun, work with a slow shutter, be ready to be surprised, be ready to be frustrated. I hope I was open enough to show you I'm oftentimes frustrated. Those pictures don't just magically pop into my camera. It's work, but it's fun. I love it. And I hope you do too. And if you don't, then that's another lesson, you know, then just, okay, slow shutter is not for me. Either it's not your personality, doesn't work with your personality, that's okay. Or maybe also okay to say, I don't like these images, you know, that's fine too. But try things. I mean, work at home, work with artificial light, work with natural light, whatever floats your boat. There's tons of things to explore.
That's good.
All right, good. I hope I answered all your questions. And I see Sil saying hello from Argentina. Hello. How exciting. I love it to have people from all around the world in this group. This is so cool. Good. If we don't have any more questions, I'm saying goodbye now, and I wish you a very good weekend.
Thanks, you too.
All right. Bye now.